Hey guys, in this lesson, we're gonna be going over the mud that we're using because now we've finished priming our ceilings. They've been scraped, primed, and so the next coat is, or the next lesson is to actually be skimming our ceilings, okay? And we're using +3 here. And you can buy this in a bucket or a box. If you buy it in a box, you need an empty pail to mix it in. And we go ahead and use this as a power mixer. You can use any kind of drill. Let me show you the paddle here. Just kind of an old typical paddle on there. And what we're gonna do, we go ahead and give your mud just a mix beforehand. So put it in your bucket, open up the lid, give it a mix. And you're gonna see that mud is actually really thick. Like, I mean, you can just see it sitting on this paddle, right? So we wanna thin out the mud just a little bit. So we're just gonna take a splash of water, and I mean just a splash, okay? You don't want your mud to become too thick when you're trying to skim, because if it is, you're gonna run into issues with it just dripping all over, and it's just gonna be a pain in the butt, so. Perfect, that's much better skimming mud right there. Just maybe probably like 2 cups of water into a bucket or into a box of mud. And I'm gonna show you that consistency. I'll bring it down here to you. So, here you are. This is our mud right here. See how it stays on the knife and doesn't fall off? That's what you want. A nice kind of creamy mud that's gonna make skimming your ceiling so much easier. All right, and that's it. Also guys, some of the tools that we're gonna be using here is we're gonna use a 6-inch knife. You could also use a 5-inch knife here. We're also gonna have ourselves a 10-inch blade to skim, and then also a mud pan, along with the materials for the +3 mud. Also, if you guys have any cracks or any issues with your ceiling, now after we've primed, now is the time to take care of those, okay? And you guys, if you have a big crack, I have some other courses that talk about how to fix those cracks, but we usually use like an ultra thin mesh on those. Maybe you need to retape something. You guys can use paper tape, that's fine too. But we're gonna also fix anything that's going on in the ceiling at this time before we come to sanding and texturing, which will be our next steps. So let's go learn how to skim coat though. All right, I'll see you there. All right guys, here's how we skim coat. We're using our 10-inch blade, and you're just gonna go ahead and load it up there with a little bit of mud, put it on your ceiling, pull it across, okay? We're just gonna get that nice and full, just like so. This is already a primed ceiling. If you didn't prime your ceiling, it's gonna leave a lot of little hitchhikers or lines in there. And you're gonna get it close to the corner with the 10-inch blade, or even a 12-inch blade, okay? And we're just gonna do that across the whole ceiling. If you have like a really, really smooth ceiling already, and you're trying to go to flat, you wouldn't have to float the blade as much as I'm floating. You could actually pull it completely tight for the most part, and it would do a great job just helping you get to that flat ceiling look. We have a really heavy texture here in the bathroom that was a painted ceiling, and so here we are. We're just going to be pulling it across, floating some mud over those bumps to help hide them, just like so, with that blade. And we're just gonna continue this all the way around the bathroom. Okay guys, here we are, and I just finished our skim coat on this bathroom ceiling. Remember that texture was just super rough. We just kind of floated the blade, went around. You could actually use that 10-inch to pretty much get right into the corners. And you see how I have raised lines, okay? I don't have indented lines or little pieces of stuff pulled through my mud. Okay, these raised lines aren't gonna be too hard to sand. But if you have an indented line, you're gonna have issues. You're gonna need to come back and actually fill those before you can do your texture or on your second pass. And honestly, with this ceiling, I'm probably gonna be able to sand it and go ahead and texture it. If you guys are trying to get to a flat ceiling, you would go ahead and sand this and then do one more skim on it, a little bit tighter than what we just did. Okay, this is a pretty heavy skim. We pretty much just floated. But again, those raised lines are not an issue. You'll see why. I want to show you just another method to do this. Instead of using a 10-inch and a mud pan, you guys can also use a hock and a trawl. Okay, these here is a 16-inch trawl and a hock, and right here, so here's a really good example. We're gonna look at our ceiling. This is pretty much a smooth ceiling. We don't even have to touch it in order to texture it for the most part. There's just besides a few little spots here and there. But say you're doing a smooth ceiling, you're still gonna probably want to go over your ceiling at this point in time, just with a skim coat. And so I'm gonna show you how you do that. So in the last video, I was just showing you how we float it. But here, go ahead and apply your mud. And then you're just gonna scrape it off tight, Okay, you're not floating it at all. You're literally just pulling it up completely tight. Get it right to that edge, pull it across, grab it, pull it off tight. I can show you that too also with our 10-inch. If you have the mud pan and the 10-inch, put it on your ceiling, just like so, wipe, pull it off tight. You're not having to put a lot of mud on there. What you're doing is just filling in any little imperfection in your ceiling to help get a nice smooth finish. So if you had an awesome scrape, which hopefully you did, and you want a flat ceiling, I would still suggest go ahead and go through, do one skim coat across your entire ceiling, and then we're gonna come back and sand it, okay? Awesome, thanks guys.
And one more reminder, go ahead guys and do any of your taping or patching right now before you skim coat. Here was a tape bubble, we cut it out, and we just put a little bit of white mesh over that, and we'll mud that in and then skim over it. And here you can see in the room there was a bunch of patches that we did around lights and where there was an existing wall. Then we come back and skim the ceiling, and then we're going to go ahead and texture or just sand it one more time and finish it flat if that's your case.